Good day, everyone. This is Reverend Dr. Clifford Matthews Jr., the pastor, the proud pastor of the St. Luke Missionary Baptist Church, bringing you another installment of the popular, well received, fast growing, community changing, web based podcast titled In the Know, where we talk about issues and introduce you to people who are part of the community called St. Luke and also perhaps part of the broader community that we all share. And I want to say before we get started, if you have if you could just share this link with someone, invite them to join us today for this, what is going to be an exciting, a really exciting show today, because today I have the privilege of spending time with someone who is a hero, somebody who is a definite leader within our church family, but also in the Charlotte community in North Carolina. I have the privilege of introducing you to LaWanna Mayfield, at large councilwoman for the Charlotte City Council. LaWanna, welcome and thank you for giving us time for In the Know. How are you today?
I am amazing. And Pastor, thank you for that beautiful introduction.
Well, I mean, every word of it. You have been instrumental in really helping us better understand the importance of civic engagement, grassroots organizing, passion, passionate participation. And I think we need that. So just want to say you are definitely someone that I think our church needs to hear, our community needs to hear, but also those who perhaps are wondering, does my voice really matter? And I think that you will say absolutely. So before we get into a lot of questions I have, I want to just give you a chance to tell us about LaWanna. Tell us something about you that you think would be that we need to know.
Pastor, I would say, even thinking about the question you just asked of does our voice have value?
Mhm.
I'm your neighbor next door. I'm your friend girl when it's time to vent. I'm your friend when it's time to be silly and laugh it off because we need more laughter in this world. And I'm someone that realized for me personally, although I had some challenges, like we all have challenges, I didn't face as many challenges as some have faced. We all have our own. It's never a contest of my pain is worse than your pain.
Mm,
It's a place of I found joy in volunteering and in a level of community work and
hmm
made a commitment based off of what my understanding of what God called me to do to try to
mm.
be of service and help as many people as I can.
Wow. So, Lawana, Councilwoman Mayfield. So, did you think you'd be a politician when you were a little girl? Did you grow up
Absolutely
saying,
not.
"I'm going to be president of the United States"?
No.
Yeah.
That was
Tell
not
me
that
about. Yeah. Tell me about
that was
your.
not the aspiration. And here's the thing that's interesting. And we'll probably have to have a different session for that conversation. But for those who will be watching that don't already know my story or have never
Mm,
had a chance to interact with me,
mhm,
when I'm a transplant here to Charlotte, North Carolina,
mhm,
I came here in 1988 when I was around 18. Unfortunately, when I was 13, my father passed unexpectedly. And then soon after, as a child, I didn't know what was going on, but now as an adult looking back, well, many years later, I recognized my mother had been diagnosed with cancer and she was gone by the time I was 15. And I have siblings, but
mm,
there was a challenge with that.
mhm,
I was
mhm,
that I'm not gonna say that oops baby. I was that I've fallen out of love in this situation and I've fallen in love in another situation and they decided to go off and start a family.
mhm,
I didn't know any of that as a child. My mother raised and my father raised me in a household that to me was surrounded by love. I had two older sisters and a brother that was in the household. My
Hmm.
oldest sister still stayed in Louisiana, which is where we are from, because she was already 18, so mom could make her go anywhere. But it was after my mother's passing, the pain of my siblings not really knowing how to move forward and process that pain, that caused a lot of additional pain. You know, they say
Hmm.
hurt people hurt people.
Yes.
So then I had my own pain at 17 years old, being out on my own, thinking everything that I had lost with my parents and my family. And there was money involved, and don't deal with money and grief. I try to tell
Mm.
elders specifically, have a will, make
Mm.
a clear plan of who gets what, talk to your family about what's in your will. So when the time comes for God to call you home, because we're only here for a minute in God's
Hmm.
eye, not even a full minute. So, how do we prepare ourselves for the future? Unfortunately, my parents, well, not unfortunately, I had a beautiful childhood. They made sure that I was a child. I didn't take on responsibilities of an adult, but it also honestly didn't prepare me as much as I would have
Mm.
liked to have been prepared to step out into the world. So, I've figured out my own way, but it has not been an easy path, but it's been a
Mm.
path that I wouldn't change because it's my path.
Wow. Wow. Thank you for sharing, LaWanna. That is powerful. I heard you say that at 13 you had death. At
Yes.
15 you had death. At 17 you had familial
Yeah.
family tension and stress and transition.
I had another death
Yeah, another
when
death,
you look at
right?
it.
That's
Yes.
right. That's right. Before you turned 18, you had significant exposure to trauma. Tell me, do you think it's wise for us? Because here's what I want to say, and I'm gonna get in trouble probably, but me and you talk like this, right? So there is this presentation of black women that basically says black women are resilient, black women are strong, black women are overcomers, black women are survivors, black women are thrivers, and all of that is true. But I wonder sometimes if that uh, constructive narrative doesn't also give black women and black bodies generally a chance to process, I've been hurt.
It doesn't. Society, we can look at it through the medical field,
Uh-huh.
and we can see how even still today the expectation that our black bodies can withstand pain at
Mm.
a different
Talk,
level
talk.
than what people consider to be the delicate frail bodies of white people specifically.
Hmm.
That every other culture, you're delicate, you need to be protected. But as young black women and young black men and black boys, we are
Hmm.
not protected at the levels that others are protected. So it's not that superwoman trope is not one
Mm.
that I want to subscribe to. The reality is we have to keep moving forward. You got two choices. You can
Hmm.
stay in it or you can
Hmm.
move forward and move through it. So at some point, hopefully everyone gets to the place where they recognize this place right here is not healthy. It's
Wow.
not healthy for my spirit, it's not healthy for my soul. Hopefully we would take the time to get to identify a therapist, which we don't talk about enough in our community,
Hmm.
and recognizing the historical trauma that's carried through our DNA.
Talk.
We This was something I started thinking about many years ago, and now I'm starting to read and learn of scholars that have taken the same path of looking at what is the DNA impact of slavery.
Mm.
What is the DNA impact not only for black community but for white community when we were being lynched from trees and you had your 3, 4, 5-year old child out there watching that?
Mm-hmm.
as a white person, and
Mm-hmm.
for that black child to see their family member, their neighbor,
Mm-hmm.
be strung up on a tree, butt naked,
Mm-hmm.
brutalized, and
Mm-hmm.
knowing that or feeling that you had no power to stop it because government sanctions allowed it.
Yeah. Yeah. And what you're talking about, Lawana, is what we now know is collective trauma, where there is this trauma that happens to a group of people that begins to form a narrative that is
Yes.
shared by that population. It's like, um, to use your analogy, you weren't lynched, but the fact that you have been told about black bodies being lynched and being told about the impacts of just being black and being at risk, that becomes part of our collective trauma narrative, right? That we begin to feel at a real level there's something about us that is problematic. And then you go from there to this concept, which is still being researched, and that is intergenerational trauma. That
Yes.
there is this sense that trauma is somehow passed on from generation to generation. And the challenge we have with that, I love this conversation, Lawana. The challenge we have is how do we lean into the collective trauma, lean into the reality of intergenerational trauma without allowing a narrative of victimization to set up where there is an inability to have agency over the now. You know, how do
Yes.
we say, yes, our people have been through a lot? And my own family, I see how mama, grandmama have been through a lot. I see how that's happened, but that doesn't take away from me my agency over my moment, that I'm better than that. That narrative of collective trauma is not destiny. How do you see us being able to lean into the reality of systemic, collective, intergenerational trauma in a way that still supports our ability to make good decisions today for our future? Now, you didn't
Pastor
sign up for
Matthew,
this, but here we go. See, that's how we
right.
do
This
it
is
this
what we
show.
do. This is what we do. I would say the first step is we have to name it.
Talk, sis.
That's the first step
Mm,
because we collectively walk around with so much trauma
mm,
that, and so much varied trauma that we don't necessarily always know the trigger
mm,
because there's so many instances of trauma, whether in adult life that trauma comes through the form of microaggressions when you're at work from your
mm,
coworkers, whether they are white and or black,
mm,
and the additional pain when it comes from that manager or that boss or the executive leader that has the same melanin as you, that opposed to lifting you up and encouraging and putting you in a position to grow, they would rather create obstacles for you. And so you're like, wait a minute, I have all this additional stress and trauma from the outside world. This is supposed to be our safe space with each
mm,
other.
mm,
So when we don't have that safe space, but yet we have all these conferences, we have all these workshops about black female empowerment, around African American empowerment, but yet we do these things to hurt each other individually and see no tie to the recourse of what that is doing,
mm,
and that not understanding that we really are better together and stronger together. We would rather say, what you have I want because you didn't deserve it, I deserve it because I played by all they rules, so I should be the one that excel, versus understanding we need to create our own rules of navigating in this space. We need to be
mm,
proud of who we are. We need to understand who we come from. We need
mm.
to understand, first, we are God's children.
Talk.
Second, we are children of the African diaspora. We are
Okay.
born resilient.
Mm,
No matter what they threw our way,
Mhm.
no matter how many of our family you took away from us, no
Mhm.
matter how much abuse we watched from you,
Mm.
we're
Mm.
still here and we're still thriving in a lot of cases. Now, we can talk about thriving, and thriving has a different definition for many people.
All right,
Some
go ahead.
people think thriving only means you've achieved a certain level of wealth,
Mm.
but thriving is also waking up every day. God ain't promised us it was going to be easy, but He woke you up this morning. He woke you and I up for us to have this conversation. So that
Talk.
means I got another chance to do it better. But I have to first try to name what the trauma is. And for me personally, it took me many years to get to that place of understanding where it wasn't the trauma for me as much as losing my parents as I got older. The real trauma for me came afterwards in losing what I always knew of as family.
Mm.
Now, I'm still working through that trauma because
Okay.
I recognize I hold on too tight. I own that. I
Mhm.
put a lot of energy in friendships and relationships.
Mm.
I am a very relational person.
Mhm.
Well, this part-time job I have in local office is a very transactional space. So when I
Yeah.
served in office, the phone would be ringing off the hook. For the 3 years I was not in office, after I ran and I lost,
Mhm.
those calls didn't come. Whereas to me, the calls or the texts were genuine to, hey, how's the family? I'm not asking for anything. I don't need anything from you. That was a very difficult space for me for
Mm.
the simple fact that I could not really understand what I was doing wrong.
Oh, wow. Wow.
So I needed to process that hurt and that anger and that pain. And then remember really what my wife says to me all the time: I need to
Yeah.
stop expecting me from other people.
Okay. Say that again, because
I
that's
need to
powerful.
stop expecting me from other people.
Wow. That is a powerful mantra. Put it on a t-shirt, a coffee mug. Do it quickly, because if not, it may be used. I'm telling you now, because that was powerful. And it goes to something I always talk about, and I try to help clients to understand the issue of capacity. How when you understand capacity of someone, it's a freeing thing, right? That I'm able to see you for who you are and where you are, and that's okay. Because I only get in trouble when I expect more from you than for whatever reason you can give. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Right, because you expect that phone call or
Yeah.
that text that you give so often, and then you have to get to a place, and again, starting with you, where you understand that you might be putting a little more in this relationship or a lot more in this relationship than what you're receiving. And it goes back to that saying of reason, season, lifetime.
Talks.
There's a reason that you are in this situation, that
Mhm.
you are in the presence of these people. There is something you're supposed to learn or something you're supposed to teach, whether
Mhm.
you recognize it or not.
Mhm.
There's a season where we've all had people that have come into our lives and you were tight as I don't know what, and just as quickly as you bonded, it just dissipates.
Oh my God. Mm.
And then there's that lifetime, those people where you don't have to talk every day, but when you do talk, when you do see each other, you're picking right up where you left off. And the love
Mm.
is there, and you're good
Mhm.
with just checking in to make sure they're okay. Like I would reach out to some of my friends and I'm like, I am calling you because I need to hear your voice.
Wow.
But these are the same people that reach out to me, and not on social media, not on Facebook or Instagram.
Mhm.
Those are for me, and no disrespect to others, but those are imaginary relationships. Because if you saw them in person, would you even recognize them?
My.
But for those friends that have your direct number,
Mm,
that actually break bread with you, share a
mm,
laugh with you, share libations with you. That's a very different conversation. So I try to build a family that I'm still longing for.
mm-hmm.
Yet I also recognize I do hold on very tight. So I'm trying to work on that as well because I also don't want to suffocate. So think about the cartoons when we were kids where the baby girl was holding on to the giant dog bear. We don't know what type of creature that was, but she would just be wrapped around his neck to the point where she was almost squeezing the life out of him.
Okay.
We can't do that with those that we
Wow.
love because they're not ours, they're God's. So God's given me a chance to have you for this period, whether it's a reason, a season, or a lifetime, but you're not mine forever. You're God's.
Wow.
She made
Wow.
you, she created you, but she just let me borrow you for a little while.
Talk, Lawana. That is powerful. And you know, we're 21 minutes in. It's we
Already?
we got we haven't even got so listen, so we're gonna keep on going. We're gonna have a two-parter because there's so much that we have to still process through. So I want to go back and I want to because you are so on it and it's so powerful. You talked about when you lost the election, right? You
Yes.
talked about how the transactional relationships that you had developed fell off because they perceived you were no longer useful for me, right?
Right.
But what I heard you say is that transactional falling off was triggering because it reminded me of what I experienced at 17 when my family kind of fell off,
Because
right?
it's relation. And
Talk.
we were coming from two different places.
Yeah.
They were coming from a place of transaction. I was coming from a place of relational, and those two don't necessarily mix.
Would you please say that again? Because this is okay. I get excited. I need to calm down. Folks tell me just to calm down. But this is good stuff here now. So I'm trying to keep it in my frame here, right? So transactional and relational, they're different. I think it's Brene Brown that talks about transactional versus transformative. You
Mm.
have relationships, but the transactional relationships are not meant to be anything other than we transact.
That is a reason, a very
Yeah,
specific reason, season, lifetime.
yeah.
There's a very specific reason that you are engaging with each other, whether it is to build a business, whether it is to create a community engagement project,
Hmm.
whether it is to identify a specific task. It has an end date. You
Hmm.
might not know the end date, but it has
Hmm.
an end date on it from the beginning.
And so I wanna go here and I wanna bring this in now. So could you talk about if the present Lawana could talk to Lawana at 17,
Oh,
knowing the mental health growth you've had, how you have dealt with this, what would you say a teenage girl Lawana needed as far as mental health support?
if I could talk to her,
Mm,
I would tell her to truly take advantage to the therapist that was offered to you through high school. I would tell her, don't drop out your senior year because that's what she did. And then she went on and finished school 6 months later when she moved to Charlotte between that 17-18 period. It was literally 3 classes short of
mm,
graduating from high school.
mm,
I would tell her, go to college to have that experience, to build those memories and build those lifetime
mm,
relationships that
mm,
you're going to want later in life. I would tell her, you didn't do anything wrong. The nature of you being born was not the error.
Mm,
The love is never an error. Yes, we could go about it a different way. I wish my parents had went about it a different way, but me being here was not the mistake.
mm,
I would tell her, try, don't mold yourself for others, because the younger one did that a lot. And I would let her know, you're actually going to be better than okay. And there's going to come a time where you're going to have an impact on people's lives that even you're not going to understand. So take care of yourself.
mm,
Don't abuse your body, don't abuse your mind.
mm.
Learn who you are now, and it's okay to still be a child. You don't have to grow up too quick. You're about to step into a space where you feel like now you have to be an adult. You still have a couple of more years to be a child. I need you to take those years, because those years are going to create amazing memories for you.
My. Wow, LaWanna, thank you for sharing. This is absolutely wonderful. I want you to know that I just know what you have just shared is going to touch somebody, right? Um,
That is my prayer.
well, your prayer will be answered, and so that is so powerful. LaWanna, could you talk about how do you perceive the African American community? I'm gonna start there, and I'm gonna come on down a little bit when it comes to mental health engagement.
We have a stigma because of that trauma and the disconnect with Western medicine.
Talk about that.
Because on one end, when you attempt to reach out to a therapist and they don't have a cultural connection,
Hmm.
we
Hmm.
immediately now walk away with
Hmm.
prescriptions,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
there's drugs. The
Hmm.
drugs want to stop us. The drugs are to tamp us down. The drugs are to take away the beauty of who we are, the
Talk.
energy of who we are. That is what the drugs are meant to do. Whereas when you identify someone who is culturally aware, they know therapy has always been a part of our community. We have always had sister circles. We have
Yeah.
always had shamans. We have always had the elders in the tribe that we would go to when we were experiencing anything good and those challenges in life.
Hmm.
We
Hmm.
always had a space where we were able to go and talk and convene and share and learn that we're not alone in this, and that someone else has gone through something very similar, and they will share how they were able to move through. But we allow the idea of these individuals, and then when we share with them, they don't have that cultural connection. So what they're giving back to us isn't what we need. So
Hmm.
sometimes we walk away more confused than
Hmm.
when we walked in, because they're not really hearing us, because they don't understand the experience that we bring it to them.
Right.
So then we're being over dramatic. We're being hypochondriacs. We're just creating issues when we, as Black people, know the moment we step out our door, we must have on a shield. And in some
Mm.
cases, multiple shields to deal with what the world is going to throw at us that day.
Wow. 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 Luana, that is powerful, and that's so true that there is this stigma we have in our community that we don't need mental health professionals, right? But we do. The challenge, and I hear what you're saying because it's spot on, right? That we used to have sister circles. We still have sister circles, and we had wisdom leaders within
Yes.
our tribe that we could talk to. Um, but as you said that, one of the things I immediately thought about, and this may sound dramatic, but where are those elders today?
That's one of the challenges. We we as a people stop listening to our elders. We first thing we want to do is once mom gets to a certain age is send her away and put her in a home.
Mm,
Now, there are times that that is needed because the amount of care that mom may need is beyond your training or capabilities, but that doesn't mean you stop going to see mom.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
We stop going to the places where our elders gather.
mm,
We stop going to church. That's
mm,
where our elders are.
mm,
Our elders are at the rec center playing bingo and sharing stories. We don't
mm-hmm,
go to the rec center and to the library and
mm-hmm,
just pop in to say, hey, may I join you? We don't sit
mm.
at your feet. And over the years, our elders, so I'm Gen X, born
Okay.
1970. The elders I had growing up are not the elders that you see today. So we might be in the same age bracket,
Mm-hmm,
yet the mindset is very different. We have created this, we have not created, we have bought into their
mm.
idea of individualism,
Talk.
their idea of look at what I have done versus look at what we have done. I joke sometimes, but not really joking with laughter, that I feel like I'm a dinosaur in this space of politics.
Mm-hmm,
Because when I came in, it came in from doing many years of community activism and volunteering and actually creating change before stepping into politics. And
mm-hmm,
then, whether it's local or national, you have individuals that sign up on a committee just because they want to be elected to office, so they need something to say, this is what I've done. Or you
mm-hmm,
have people who have done never did a day of volunteer work, picked up a piece of trash, even attended your neighborhood association meeting, that then goes out and runs for office, and you want people to vote for you, and voting records are public record. You never even voted,
Oh my goodness.
but now you want people to vote for you, but you can't speak to anything that you've done to get to this place, because if it's about service, you don't need this title to do the service.
Talk, sis.
You do the work. And then if that's God's will for you to step in a space where you feel like you'll have a voice in policy making, then you could say, community, this is what we have done together. Will you support me to step into this next level? Versus, community, I know I've never done anything,
Mm.
and I know you've never seen me before now. Yet I'm gonna ask you to put me in this position,
And
but what's
trust
gonna
me.
happen? And trust me to make decisions
Yeah,
for
yeah,
you,
yeah, yeah.
when I don't even know what your concerns are, because I never saw you
No,
prior to now that I'm running.
never saw you. And after you don't get to
When
office,
you leave, you
yeah,
disappear.
we don't see you again. It's
You
like,
float off in the ether somewhere.
yeah, 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 until it's next time to run again, right? And you come out,
Exactly.
right? Wow.
Exactly.
That is so true. The elders are here, but there is a sense that there is a real pulling apart of this collective identity. That there is a growing, a heightened level of individualism that no longer sees itself in a collective kind of frame. And I want to put a pin there because that might be what we are experiencing when it comes to Black voter participation. But
Yes.
let's put a pin there. Wow. So we'll book you for our next uh, uh, part two of this. I don't want it to be long. So I think this has been great. Well, listen, everybody, thank you all for joining us today. I appreciate your support of all we do at St. Luke. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do. And I'm so thankful for it. Please don't forget about us. If you can, help us continue this by supporting us in the various ways that you see advertised. Listen, God loves you, and so do I. And thank you for being with us in the know. God loves you. Take care. Thank you.